Continue with chapter number 13 from your economics book of grade 11, and the name of the chapter is Profile of India, Agricultural or Rural Development. We have already started this chapter, and today we are going to start from rural credit. So rural credit means finance, or you can say loan. Finance or credit is an essential requirement for every productive activity. Agriculture is no exception. Agricultural finance is one of the most important inputs in agricultural development program. Farmers in India are by and large poor, and their savings are very low and inadequate. They have to depend upon various outside agencies to meet their credit requirements. About 50% of rural households had to depend on borrowing funds in 2015. Therefore, it is essential that there should be appropriate and efficient agencies to meet the financial requirements of the agricultural sector. Why this agricultural sector needs so much of credit? The need and purpose of agricultural credit. Agriculturalists require finance to meet their diverse requirements. Finance required by the cultivators can be classified into different categories on the basis of the purpose for which finance is required and the time period on which for which the finance is needed. So basically we are going to divide for what purpose the credit is, and the money or the loan is getting they are taking, that is what is the purpose of the finance requirement, and on the basis of time, how much time they are taking to repay it. According to that also we can classify. These are the two dimensions. First we have to understand purpose for which this finance is needed. Productive or unproductive credit. Okay, on basis of the purpose of credit, agricultural credit takes the form of productive and unproductive credit. Finance required for the farmers to carry on productive activities is known as productive credit. Productive credit includes finances taken to purchase seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, equipments, etc. It also includes credit taken to finance expenditure for making permanent improvement on the land, like digging of wells, finance fencing of land, and etc. Okay, for these purposes, loans take of this purpose can be repaid it for increased income, and hence the economical you can say justified. Next, the other type, that is the unproductive credit. That is, farmers also require credit to finance various expenditures not related to production activities. Finance required to meet various types of consumption expenditures for social and religious purposes, such as marriages, funerals, litigation, etc. And credit taken to meet the consumption expenditure during a year of low income of the farmer arises from failure of crops are known as unproductive finances. They cannot be economically justified, and though they may be important otherwise. Okay, so this is one type, and the second type is the time dimension, that is short, medium, and long term credit. Finances required by Indian farmers can be classified into three types. Three types or form of viewpoint of the period of time for which the finances are required, that is short term, medium term, and long term. Most farmers need funds for short periods to carry out normal cultural operations, that is to meet outlay on purchasing of inputs such as seeds, fertilizers, and to pay wages, rents, etc. Farmers also require funds to meet unproductive expenditures, that is, to meet the consumptions of during a year of a bad cropping, and these funds are needed for a period up to 15 months. The loans taken for a short period can be repaid out on the, you can say, repaid out of the current income of the farmers. Medium term or long term funds are needed to acquire fixed farm assets, that is, introduce various types of improvements to land. Medium period funds cover a period extended from 15 months to 5 months. Such funds are needed for the purchasing of animals, making improvements in land, repairing of wells and implements, etc. And they are also needed for meeting various unproductive expenditures on marriages and other social and religious functions. Long term funds are needed for a period of more than 5 years and may extend to a period of, you can say, 15 to 20 years. Such funds are usually or you can say used for making long term improvements in land, that is, the undertaking investment projects which contribute the production and of many years. Okay, loans taken for these purposes are repaid over a long period of time. So non-institutional sources are there in the of credit, of rural credit. Non-institutional means those are not the banks, the other providers like the neighbor or maybe the money lender. Those are called as the non-institutional sources, and there is institutional sources also. So let's start with the non-institutional sources. Credit requirements for farmers are met through various sources. These sources can be classified into two broad categories, namely non-institutional or informal sources and institutional sources. Non-institutional sources, which are the traditional sources of agricultural credit, have been losing ground on the institutional sources of credit. One is the money lender. The money lender are the most important non-institutional or private source of agricultural credit. Okay, next, and the second most important is the landlords and the others. Landlords, traders, and commission agents, and also give loan to the farmers for productive purpose against their crops. Okay, but we can say that the money lenders, those who are the money lenders or maybe the traders and the landlords, often exploit the poor and the helpless farmers in many ways. Okay, next we are having the non-institutional sources of the rural credit. The base, or you can say the basic need of rural credit is to provide cheap credit in adequate quantity and at the right time. Since 1951, the policy of agricultural credit has been its progressive institutionalization for providing timely credit at reasonable cost, that is, rate of interest is low, to the farmers for increasing agricultural production and productivity. The major objective of the policy has been to provide better access of institutional credit to small and marginal farmers and other weaker sections. The government realized that cooperatives alone would not be sufficient to meet the growing requirements of the agricultural credit. In view of this, there has been a shift in the government policy since 1971, and since then the government has adopted the policy known as multi-agency approach for rural credit. As part of this policy, a number of institutions have been developed to meet the financial requirements of the rural credit. Institutional credit refers to the funds available to the farmers by which, or you can say by various institutions, mainly cooperative societies, commercial banks, then we have the regional rural banks, state government, land development bank, and above all in the apex level or at the top, you can say the institution in India, we are having the NABARD, that is a National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development, and they provide loans for the largely for short term, medium term. This kind of agricultural loans are provided. Long term also loans are provided. So what are the main advantages below this? If the farmers are taking loan under the institutional sources, or you can say from the institutional credits, if they are taking, what are the benefits they are going to have? First is the rate of interest is very low. The institutional credit do not exploit the farmers, okay, and they clearly demarcate, or you can say distinguishes between the short and the long term credit. They have the clear demarcation in their mind. Next we are having what is the agricultural diversification. Okay, so agricultural diversification refers to reallocation of productive resources such as land, labor, capital, farm equipments, etc. in the agricultural sector into new activities. These new activities can be new crops or livestock production. Diversification primarily involves substitution of one crop from another or one production from another, or increase in the number of activities like livestock farming in addition to agricultural activity, okay, or you can say crop cultivation. Thus agricultural diversification has two aspects. One is diversification of crop production, and that is change in cropping pattern, and one is diversification in production activity, that is shift of agricultural labor workforce to another agricultural allied activities like livestock and you can say horticulture, then poultry. Okay, next we are having organic farming. Organic farming is a method of farming that relies on techniques such as crop rotation, green manure or composite, and biological pest control to maintain soil productivity and control pest of farm. You can also say that organic farming does not depend on the using of manufactured fertilizers or the chemical fertilizers and pesticides, plant growth regulators, and so on. In this system, the farmers relies upon the use of organic waste like animal manure, farm waste, and the composite rate of inputs. In short, organic farming is a system of farming which relies upon natural occurrence, ecological process, and biodiversity rather than using of manufacturers into the chemicals, or you can say the fertilizers. So if you say, we can say that organic agriculture is distinguished, or you can say is also known as the conventional agriculture in the modern time. Hopefully you understood. Thank you.